Hello, I'm FBX and welcome back to another episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I've been playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the console, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, I'm going to be working on one of the big things where I feel like I probably should have done this a long time ago, because the museum is one of the biggest points of criticism in this world. It's all the way on the other side, by the way, like all over there. But whenever people see it, they're just like, what was that meant to be, Toycat? And honestly, I think this to myself sometimes, and I always think like, yeah, I'll welcome that someday. But that day never comes. So today I'm going to be making that day come, and instead of, necessarily overhauling the whole thing, destroying it and starting again, I'm going to be trying to work with what I have, continuing the designs I have, and then maybe thinking about how I can make that, into something a bit less, just because right now the walls just stop in the middle of nowhere. It's really, really ugly. So we're going to be grabbing ourselves a bunch of brick. We've grabbed ourselves a bunch of bone because I wanted to add a new exhibit to it as well. Or is it an exhibit at a museum? I'm not sure, but I wanted to add some fossils there. I said I'd do it for the longest time, and let's actually do it now. So I'm going to add at least 1 or 2 fossils to a separate room in the museum. I'm going to make it so like, the walls actually continue all the way to somewhere, because I've got myself some bricks, which is one of the weirder ingredients used there. And yeah, it should be a fun time. Hopefully you all enjoy this episode. So with that said, let's get straight into, I guess, going over to the museum, because if you've never seen it, you might think, Toycat, why is this such a big deal? Why do you think this has to be done? And like, why do you think it's so ugly before? It can't be that bad. Well, I mean, first of all, when it comes to building in Minecraft, I prefer to like build from the vision, because that's kind of the fun thing. But this leads to a lot of builds where you're just, where the idea was maybe a little bit fun, but then the execution was kind of all the way off. And I feel like the biggest example of this is the museum. So yeah, the idea was it's like a cosmopolitan, I think that's a good way to describe it, like collection of all the different, things in Minecraft. So I wanted the outside to kind of show that and be wacky in a combination of like, lots of blocks from different varieties. Like we got some oak logs at the top, we got some birch planks, we got some cobblestone, we got some, some brick. As you can see, like it's a good collection of all the blocks, right? But I mean, it doesn't quite work out that way, and because bricks were so hard for me to come by, I've got a bunch of clay now, but bricks were so hard for me to come by, it meant that if you look on the outside, the walls kind of just stop where I run out the necessary resources. So today I can at least rectify some of that, and I can turn this room right here, which is currently just like a grass room with, I'm not even sure what's going on here. I'm going to be turning this into the fossil museum because I have so many bones. I went and collected all the bones from all my chests, and I have 6 stacks just in that one house alone. So we're going to be turning those into bone meal, into bone blocks, into fossils. So I guess, yeah, first we'll do the outside because like I can't focus on anything while there's just a random gap there. And yeah, then we'll work on everything else from there. Oh, while we do this though, we need a furnace, which I hope I have one nearby. If not, there's always the giant furnace house, because I need to be smelting even more brick because I brought some clay with me. Like only 1 stack. It's not a significant amount, but enough so I can feel good, so I can smelt it up over around here. So let's go ahead. Let's throw it in there. I know that was the weirdest firework launch ever, but I believe somewhere around here. Oh, please don't tell me I used up all the coal. Okay, I didn't. And yeah, we grab out the cactus green, because now we can make green things instead. And now we can come back here if we're like, I just need a little bit more brick, because this always happens to me. I always bring what I think is going to be like an almost perfect amount, and then it's nowhere near perfect. So if I need like 16 more bricks, which again, it's a possibility, then we'll be good for that. So yeah, just walking around the museum we have already. We have the map of the entire 3x3 world area, so 3072 by 3072 blocks. It's pretty good, shows me that it's mostly green with some white and some yellow and a tiny bit of orange and the tiniest bit of light blue. And then we've got the block room. This is going to contain every block obtainable in survival Minecraft. It's going to be a fun thing, but like, working out like the ordering was tricky because I was going by the PC creative menu, but they keep adding new blocks. Here is the room for every single food. I'll make it look more like a kitchen later, but the most important exhibit, the only one I actually have in here, is the enchanted golden apple. So as you can see, I mean, it's pretty nice stuff seeing that in there. That's like 8 gold blocks worth of effort right there. Then on the left side over here, I have every painting in the game. Every painting you can get. I used it for the all paintings all texture pack video, because I actually generally did this in survival. I got a collection of every single painting, so I could see what they looked like in different texture packs, and just because, like, it's art and stuff. And this is modern art, as you can see. It's just gravel placed in the frame, because that's what modern art is these days. And then finally, over here, you can see we've got ourselves the, last final kind of room here, and this is going to be where fossils go. I think I'll have more rooms than even this, but, like, for now, that's where we're going. Because, a museum is meant to be about old things, right? Whereas currently this is like a collection of just everything. So I figure, like, I guess it makes some sense to do that. So yeah, first of all, we'll make the wall actually continue all the way. That shouldn't be too hard, but, I think that easier things have gone in worse ways. And then we end up with this big gap here. I guess I'll fill in with dirt later. So that's about good. It goes at least to the edge I need it to go to. Then we'll do the same on the other side because, again, bricks were hard to come by when I last worked on this. Like, it's good that I have so much clay now. But even okay, you know, even if you have clay, bricks are one of these annoying blocks in Minecraft where you have to mine the clay. So I think there's some in that lake, for instance, but you have to take it out. Actually, is there some in here? I'm not sure if that's stone or clay. You know, either way, assuming it's clay, you go in, you mine it with your shovel. It's really tricky to mine because you're underwater, so it takes double as long as any other block should because you get that, you know, mining penalty. So you do that, you finally go through the effort and you're like, well, it's worth it because now I got myself the clay. Then you have to smelt the clay individually, so it takes 4 times as long because it's individual clay blocks. Then you combine them, and then you have like every stack of clay is worth like 16 bricks, and it's like, you know, most people when they build stuff with bricks in real life, they're building houses, and that means like to get that much clay, it just gets absurd really quickly is my point, and that's kind of the thing. So yeah, now we're going to get ourselves some birch planks, because those are important, and then also we're going to use these, and we're just going to make the wall go somewhere complete, because when a wall ends in different points for different blocks, it gets a little bit ugly in my opinion. So, you know, easy way to fix that. I mean, besides the brick, which again, we'll come back to some other time, but as you, or like, we could come back later today, but we'll come back to very shortly. But for now, we'll just at least make sure the top 3 layers all end up at the same point, because then it looks like it's maybe intentionally unfinished, you know? Because the beautiful thing about history, that, you know, maybe you didn't realize this, is that it's never really finished. History is a continuing story. This video, the moment I upload it, becomes history. I actually used to have like weird, not crises over it, but like, I guess like confusion over the fact that like the past, the present is 1 moment long, right? That's what people will say. Like it's exactly, oh man, this goes literally over a rain. But the present is 1 moment long. That's how long people say it. Like, what is a moment? Well, a moment is 1 frame in time, you know? It's almost like being described as a video game, but people who say that don't know what video games are sometimes, so they're just like, oh yeah, it's 1, you know, picture of your life. So that means that now is never, because, you know, a 1 frame of your life, 1 moment in time, is an infinitely small amount of time, right? And as you might know, if you have ever done maths, if something is infinitely small, if there's an infinitely small difference between something and the next thing, then it doesn't exist. So, for instance, if there's an infinitely small difference between 0.9 recurring and 1, then not, you know, because, okay, here's a fun little maths thing for you. No, I thought we'd be talking about what I was up to this week, but I'll teach you some maths instead, because this is something I guess they did in the first day of like advanced maths, just to like mess with people. But it was like, oh yeah, so you know, what is a third when you represent it as you know, numbers? A third is 0.33333 recurring, right? Everyone knows that. That's a fact. Well, what's 2/3 when you put it in fractions? 0.666666 recurring. So what is 3/3 when you put it in fractions? I guess, you know, because what is 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3? 0.9999999. But the catch of that one, the reason that like 0.99999 equals 1 is because if there's like if there's a difference so small you can't even measure it, because those 9s would go on forever, then it it's equivalent to the number above it, which means 0.9 followed, you know, 0.9 followed by an infinite amount of 9s is 1. It's confusing, but I'm mentioning that because it's kind of the same thing with whatever I was talking about before. You know, I've lost whatever it was before, but there's some cool maths for you. There's a lot of like fun maths tricks you can do with people like that, because like, again, it's really weird. Maths is just this system we invented. But no, today I'm not here to talk about maths lessons, although, you know, if you want me to tutor you sometime, then make sure you, I know I was going to make some like joke about like super chatting or like YouTube subscriptions, but I don't have sponsors, I guess they'd be, but I guess you can't do those on a Let's Play, but you can pretend you did one of those, and then I'll just teach you about maths right now. So, did you know that 7 is a prime number? Whoa, crazy math facts with Toycat. Make sure you subscribe to see these daily on your homepage. So I guess we should also finish this bit of the wall. It's a bit ugly that it's been left in. Oh, it looks like I probably was working on doing all of this, and then I ran out of wood. So we can do that too, just to make the existing exhibits look a little bit less ugly. Yeah, I'd say ugly is a fair word. So we'll do that now. Just kind of fill this in a bit more, and then we'll also like make a space around where our, you know, our blocks are going to be, because again, making fossils is hard, but like not. I guess we could do that afterwards, but this wall here at the very least, this has to be something. We can't have it be nothing. So we'll have this go at least a few blocks this way, and we'll just go all the way to the sky. You know, it doesn't matter to me. Just so we can have like some you know, sense of the room, because, you know, if you just have a curtain dividing like, you know, 2 bits of the same place, is that even a room? I'm not sure. I'm just asking rhetorical questions at this point. But yeah, let's actually make these fossils now, shall we? So again, we're going to assume this is all floor for now. We can fill it in later, or we can put carpet down or something if we want to. But for now, we just need to have a place to actually make this stuff. So we're going to go out to our crafting table. There's one under here, for reasons I still don't really know. And we're going to turn all of our bone into bone meal. Again, this is going to, a lot of it's going to go on the floor, but then it will go back in my inventory. Because it takes 3 bones to make a bone block. But you have to make it into bone meal first, where it won't make a bone block. And you know, let's just trust me on this one. Just trust me on this one. It's gonna cause a big mess on the floor, but that's fine. That's fine. It's okay to just throw your bone meal on the floor sometimes. So yeah, with that said, one of the things I've been thinking about last week, because what have I been up to? I have been to, I believe I just came back from Germany. I went to Munich. I said before, like, so it's in Bavaria if you don't know. Bavaria is like the really funny part of Germany where they you know, all the famous things you probably know. This is the longest I've held down the A button, for any good reason, I think. But it's the part of Germany where, like, Lederhosen, Oktoberfest, all the funny things you probably associate with Germany come from this part of Germany, which really isn't even that German. It's more like, it's a little bit more Austrian than it is German. But that's not the point. The point is I went there, I was really excited, because it's kind of like, you know, what New York is to America, what London is to Britain, what Paris is to France. All these, like, because a lot of places, their famous place is just their capital, and that's really easy. But in a lot of other places, that's not the case. So it looks like I'm going to have that same amount of holding down A time. I didn't realize it took so much effort to combine so many blocks. See, this is where you need classic crafting, I guess. But yeah, all of that, like, insane amount of, like, holding down the A button. That was, like, at least a minute, right? That resulted in 111 bone blocks. Bone blocks are hard to come by if you want to get them that way, as it so turns out. Because that was all the bones in my world. But it's enough to, like, do some stuff with, I guess. So yeah, the first one I'll have is, like, the entry exhibit. Because you always start with, like, your weakest thing or your strongest thing. Because you don't want to start with something in the middle, because that's just going to bore people. You want to either deliberately bore people, so they get excited for the new thing, or you just go all the way into this. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll place some bone blocks here. Because we're going to go for, like, the really long bone block thing, where it's just, like, a big old tower. And then people can see it on the side here, or they can ignore it, which is, you know, what will realistically happen. So we'll do that. Again, I know this is a solo Let's Play world, but it's still nice to, like, see my own stuff every now and then. Like, it's kind of weird that, like, this is something only I will ever see. Well, I guess you can see it in video form. Maybe that's just as good, really, isn't it? But, yeah, now we do the same on the other side. Because I think this is meant to be, like, ribs, this formation. Again, you might not recognize what I'm doing here. You might think, Toy Cat, no, you just made pillars. These aren't, you know, quartz pillar blocks. They're regular blocks. But, no, trust me, I got this. So then we just place this going all the way along like that, and then we remove these things. And then we just have this going all the way along. And I think it sticks out a little bit more on one side. We'll say the side pointing towards the door. And then we got ourselves our first fossil, which used up half of my blocks as it turns out. So even the most basic of designs, as it so happens, yeah, that's like a solid majority of my stuff. But yeah, now we got a fossil here. It looks pretty cool, right? Like, you can walk in it, you can play on it. That's cool stuff. We got this little side corner here. We could put something in later, maybe. I mean, it's 3x3 blocks. I'm not sure what I'd do, but still. And now we'll do, like, the big grand thing over here. Maybe facing, yeah, we'll make it, like, in the center of the room, and then we'll, like, yeah, cordon it off with, like, iron bars or something later. But yeah, what we do is we want to make ourselves a giant dinosaur, because you can't actually make dinosaurs. So you only find fossils in, like, rib shapes and skull shapes. But if you combine, like, some of the ribs as, like, a neck, and you can actually make one from all of them. But today I'll just be taking, like, the ribs and then turning it into a dinosaur. Because, okay, you know what, let's just get into it rather than, like, talking about it. So we want to have a leg facing this way. So this can be, like, our front leg. And it goes 3 blocks up, I think. Then we'll have, like, at least 3 blocks of space, I want to say. Maybe more. But probably because we don't have many blocks, like 3 blocks of space. And then, like, we'll go back maybe, like, I don't know, 7 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe 6, you know, double the distance is probably about fine. That's like, that's how, actually, no, we'll just to be safe, we'll go back 8 blocks. Because then it's like, again, sometimes I think, like, there's a golden ratio and there's a magic, like, all you have to do is get the distance between things just perfect. And then everything else kind of just happens. That's probably not how these things work, but it's still worth considering. But yeah, I went to Munich, Germany. I had a lot of fun there. I really, there's this magical feeling when you go somewhere that, like, you recognize from, like, just, like, because there's a lot of, like, cultural stuff that's in you that you don't necessarily even know about. It just kind of is there. And I know that sounds, like, random, just, like, that's not a real thing to look at. But no, I really think that there's a collective cultural understanding of how, like, other countries work. And it's cool that, like, my understanding, oh wait, so if we do this every other rung, actually, you know, can we even do that? Can we afford to do that? We probably can't. Let's do it every, like, second rung. So we do it this way. Yeah, it works out perfectly. So if we... okay, perfect. Okay, so now we remove these blocks because they can't be above the legs. Kind of removes their purpose. So we have 2 ribs in between there. And then we'll go out a little bit like the legs, but like not quite as far down. And as you can see, we've got like the basis of a body here. But then we need to kind of like step it up, because we're going to have a head attached to this. So I don't know how we're going to do this, actually. Maybe like this, and then like outer block. And then this can be the neck. I mean, dinosaurs have pretty big necks, right? So like 3 blocks out. And then we'll go like this. Is that enough of a head? Wait, so, okay, we need the head to be like 2D, 3D, right? So like that. And like that. Maybe the head should be towards the back. I'm not sure enough about heads and how they work. But I think that should be about good for our dinosaur head. I think that's pretty impressive, right? Like, given the limitations. Yeah, you know, I like that enough. So then we'll have some ribs here. I think the ribs have to kind of be inherently tiny. Just like this, maybe? Do they even look like ribs if I do them like that, though? They don't really, that's the issue. Maybe we should have the ribs go out 1 block more. So like that. On every side. Yeah, that's my plan. If we just make... Because the ribs have to be, like, out a little bit. They're on the same level as the legs, but, like, you know what? Dinosaurs has some pretty wacky anatomy. So yeah, I went to Germany. Really love it. There's a magical feeling. There's a magical, like, cultural... collectivity where you're like, oh yeah, everyone understands this, and like, you know, because you just instantly feel some places. Like, I bet if I went to Tokyo, Japan, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is from that famous thing, like Tokyo Drift, and like, I know there's something really fascinating about seeing a place like that. Like, some people insist, like, you know, no, you have to go to these tiny villages and see how, like, these fisher people, these 6 people in the whole darn country, you got to see how they live before you understand a place. But it's never been my opinion. I've always thought, like, you know, where the majority of the people live and the way the majority of the people understand those people live, it's always worth seeing at the very least, even if it's not, even if you don't want to take it as like the gospel of what's true or not, it still has like some bearing on like, this is a thing worth seeing. Or maybe it's not worth seeing because the fact that I immediately understood it means that I didn't need to go. I don't know for certain. Sometimes I have these like big questions because I've been uploading a lot on IBX2Cat recently of where I've been traveling, and there's a lot of people who are just like, you know what, no, it's okay. You can't just go to big cities or whatever because they're so similar to each other. And it's like, I think the reason they're so similar to each other is because you know, like, we worked out the best way for people to live together, or at least like the most efficient way, which is a city. You know, you can pack like 8 million people into London. That's more than like some countries get in all of their... Well, some countries have their entire population less than like our biggest city, because having a big city is pretty important, as it turns out. So, and let me just quickly check this again. So this is my dinosaur fossil. I feel like there's... Okay, you know, all I need to do is I need to put some like buttons on the eye or something, like some wood buttons maybe. Yeah, let's do it. It's silly, but I really feel like that would genuinely make it feel a bit more alive or whatever. So, again, this is the worst idea in the world because fossils don't have eyes. Because we just want it to represent like a gap in the fossil, it should be fine. So there we go. Now the fossil is all realistic. And then we'll do the same over there. I think it was on that block. Let's just pray like the... Okay, wait, can we jump back to this? Yeah, it's on the same block both sides. Okay, so now the dinosaur has eyes, it looks way more impressive, and now we can like, you know, cordon it off later. Because we gotta like, first of all, work out what's going on underneath it. Because it'd be cool to have like a fancy floor under here. Yeah, actually, you know, okay, I know, I was just putting blocks back in. We'll have like a fancy stone floor, like cooked stone, or like maybe just cobblestone, to kind of show that like, yeah, this is some fancy fence exhibit or something like that. So boom, let's get rid of all of this, and or we could use birch floor, or like, you know, there's a whole bunch of ideas actually. I like all of them, but I think the one that I'm most in love with is probably the wood floor, because you know that's how like, no, actually no, polished stone, or andesite or something. But first we have to go to sleep. There's a handy bed right here in the museum, so we could simulate night at the museum, if you will. But yeah, we've done some pretty good stuff today. We've got like a whole new exhibit in here. I just have to like have that floor, because I can't just leave the floor not done. That's not an acceptable ending to this, I don't think. So I guess I'll use wood, just because, birch wood though? Yeah, birch wood. Just because I feel like it has to shine a little bit. Oops, don't need it to be there, but whatever. I want it to be like very clear this is like a special area of the place. And if that's not clear, then is it even a good dinosaur? Like, people should look at this and say, wow, Toy Cat, you got yourself a real dinosaur, and then you like tamed it and tied it to a fence so long it turned into bones. Wow, that's impressive. I didn't even know you could get dinosaurs in Minecraft. That's the goal right there. But yeah, so I went to Germany. I liked it a lot. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently, and I really still do like it. I always worry, like, what if I like travel too much and I start hating all these little processes? But I still love flying, even like the worst flights. Like, I got the worst seat on my flight to Munich. Because I fly with the budget airlines. I flew with EasyJet, and because it was like a really full flight, I ended up at like row 30 or 20. I think it was 29 out of 30, I should say. It was like a particularly horrible like place because like it's so long till you can get off the plane, and like getting to your seat means you have to walk past 5 people who are just standing in the aisle, just being like, you know what? This is an appropriate time for me to spend ages like thinking about what I need for my bag. That couldn't have been done earlier. Now is the time to work on this sort of issue. But yeah, it's kind of like terrible. But even then, I was like, you know, this is cool. I flew, and now I'm back down, and now I'm in Germany. So there's something kind of nice about like, because I'm always worried like any one of my like hobbies. Like, what if one day I wake up and I just hate Minecraft? I'm like, I can't do this. I'm just not gonna do this. You know, imagine how terrifying that'd be. Imagine, I'm sure for some of you it's the same. But then bear in mind, like, oh yeah, well, I mean, I also make the videos on it, so how would I make those? And, you know, I think the reality is like, fear of losing hobbies is probably a sign that you like it a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that I used to do, and I used to think I'd do my whole life, like, I don't know, playing the Nintendo GameCube, or like, really just playing console story games, like single-player games. I probably figured I'd do them my entire life, but the truth is that hasn't panned out. But, you know, you don't think the whole time, like, what if I don't? Those are the things where you just kind of, if you care about something enough to think like, oh, I'd like to do this the whole time. Like, if you, let's say you're really into games and you've got a bunch of friends that are crazy into games, I think you'll, you know, and you're scared like, oh no, what if I don't fit in anymore? I think you'll like instinctively like the thing a bit more. That's my theory on the matter. I'm not 100% certain. Again, I'm just counting the internet, but it's something that's worth saying. Yeah, those ribs are not correct. I think I need more ribs. Maybe if I like have one there, and then one there. That's not how ribs work. Whatever, because there's something a bit off about that. Just a little bit, not all the way off, but definitely slightly off. Maybe I should just remove one of the rib rungs. Again, like, if I remove that and that, does that make it better? It makes it a little bit better, but it makes them less like ribs. Whatever, so now we got like increasing size of ribs. That's fine with me. We got ourselves this big bone thing right here. You can walk through. Isn't that fascinating? And I think I want to have one more fossil, maybe at the back here, like just a fossil skull. And then like I'll put some signs around it maybe, and that'd be kind of cute. And yeah, that'll be this corner of the thing right here. So this is actually where I should have some dirt, just because I feel like it makes some sense. Or just dirt all the way around here, just so like, you know, again, it looks like there's not a random hole there, because there is totally just a random hole here. But the trick with anything is just for something to look like it's not something else. Like, are you ever concerned that, like, oh no, what if I wake up one day and I'm trying to think of something, like, I don't know, I have a giant rhino horn coming out of my head. Well, the issue is the rhino horn isn't the issue. The issue is when people see the rhino horn. So all you have to do is hide it, and then no one will know you're secretly Rhino Boy. You know, that'd be the lamest superpower. Like, we all dream about waking up with superpowers sometimes, right? Like, I'd love to just control time, because then you'd be able to make everything perfect. Or, yeah, I'd love to be able to do this or that. But imagine just waking up and being like, I have a rhino horn. I can stab people with it, and they will bleed slightly faster than normal. Whoa, that's some crazy superpower. But like, you know, I'm just saying, next time you dream about getting superpowers, you know, think about the worst case scenario. Maybe you become like, oh yeah, I'm the guy who has the ability to change time, but only when I'm sneezing, and only forwards by up to 10 to 15 minutes at a time. And it's like, how would moving time forward by 10 to 15 minutes help? And even then, if it, you know, sneezing is not gonna achieve that for me. So I'm just throwing that out there. You know, sometimes I guess like this is the plot of Twisted Metal for the PlayStation 1, where like if you wish for something and someone who doesn't like you fulfills that wish, then you're probably not getting your puppy or your pony. Or like if you ask to be on the runway because you want to be in fashion, you'll end up on a physical plane runway. And that's, you know, I'm just saying, you gotta think about the interpretations. I actually did this a lot, like, because, you know, like, genies are known for being like that, right? And I was like, if I get a genie, I'm gonna word this so watertight that there's no way you can get around it. But then you realize, like, you know, if the genie doesn't like you enough anyway, the genie could probably just like, you know, be like, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the word safe. I thought you meant like, a thing you lock your valuables in. So, just something to consider. Always watch out for genies. This is a wise lesson to learn. I guess lawyers and genies are basically the same thing, right? Like that's 100% the truth. I bet genies are based on the lawyers, because lawyers have existed as long as courts have existed, right? Like someone to get you off from crimes that you may or may not have committed, and lawyers, they play with the laws and stuff. So I'd be willing to look into that, and I bet whoever invented the genie, if I could go back in time, however long it took, because I had the powers, I bet they'd be like, oh, these darn lawyers. It'd be funny if I made a story about them. And then that's as far as that one went. So, yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I think my museum is, still far from functional. I think the ceiling from this place, needs to be done. So give me ideas, actually, in the comments down below of how you think I can make this ceiling make the museum good. Like, should I go for a regular ceiling? Or should I make it so wacky, like every brick block or something? Because right now, there's just something horribly off about everything in here. But I like that it's, the more weird things I add, the more it actually looks like a weird jumbly collection. But let me know in the comments down below. Like if you liked it, share if you liked it. I drank a bottle of, oh wait, I had this fun moment. I wanted to share it because I think it reminds me of why, humans connect. I met my friend just after I'd been to Germany, and I always bring back some bottles from the airplane lounges because I'm terrible like that, and I guess I think it counts as stealing to take it outside there, but there's just a sign saying please don't take these bottles with you because then we'll lose the 50p it costs us to get them. So they'll say something like that, and I'll be like, but I'd like some Coke for the flight on my way home. But anyway, I had a bowl, and he was like, oh yeah, so the funny thing about Europe is they call it Coca-Cola Light and not Diet Coke. And I was like, guess what, man? And I put out my bottle, and it was this most amazing moment where it's actually a really unlikely thing for him to mention it and then for me to have the bottle. But the fact that these things happen always feels amazing, even though there's so many coincidences that can happen in a day. It still feels like this great amazing thing whenever it happens. And coincidences are fun. Coincidences guide our entire lives. But coincidences are coincidences. Oh wow, how did I do that? I'm actually kind of impressed. I spent, if you watch Q&A Saturday, I fail a little bit going in and out of these things, but I've just ended up in the little block like this today. So, go me. Accidentally did that while trying to say goodbye. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Like if you liked it, share if you really liked it, and I'll see you all, that's a mighty dinosaur, in the next video. Goodbye.